Forest Diary time. I wanted to talk a bit about onboarding the first Ogkit customer this week and some of the learnings and sort of where I'm at, what I'm thinking, where my head is at, because I feel like people like following these and they're fun to make. And so yeah, I think this one is going to be a bit more technical than the last one because I've mostly been building all week. But I want to talk a bit about something that's not technical first. And it's just this sort of dreadful feeling that I've had all week where I felt like I told people last week that I was going to try to onboard people this week. And I did start onboarding people because I onboarded one customer. But it was just the kind of thing where like the core of the product worked, but there's so many little things that weren't ideal and that you don't figure out until you try implementing this thing on more websites. And there's just not much point to like onboarding more people until most of what you learned from the first one is sort of been improved. I think I've had a tendency in the past to just go really fast just because it feels good to just get people in the door. But I'm trying to do it a bit different this time. And like the product is already miles better this week just from what I learned from the first onboarding call. And it was with a good friend, so it was low pressure, which was awesome. But the thing that actually happened is I ended up onboarding him twice because he's building a new website for himself right now. And on Monday, I think, we onboarded him, maybe it was Tuesday. We onboarded him sort of the old school way to his old site. And then the next day, we onboarded him one more time to the new site, which was really interesting. And I'll talk a bit about how we did that. So it almost felt like I did 2 onboardings this week, even though it was technically only with one customer. But yeah, so I feel a little bit, it's easy for me to start feeling like an imposter in these situations where in reality, I think most people don't really care and they probably already forgot like what I wrote in the last email or whatever. I'm just really excited and really eager to get moving with this stuff. And then as soon as people pay me money, I'm like, okay, gotta deliver this thing. But I know the product that they're gonna get onboarded to is much better. There's still gonna be a lot of quirks, which is what I'm gonna talk about in this video too, as like more of the technical parts, because it is the kind of product that does a lot of things that are sort of out of my control once they happen on other people's websites. So there's a lot of things that can just be slightly different between websites, and that's why for every person I onboard, I sort of harden the system and make it better. And it's already much better just from one customer. So that's the great part about it. But yeah, so just as a general update, I am going to onboard people as soon as I feel like it's ready for them. Hopefully I'll add some more people next week. I think it's going to feel a bit more like almost like an exponential curve. Like it's going to take forever to like onboard the first few ones because there's just going to be so many learnings from each call that then are going to take like a few days to sort of build into the product. But then I'm going to do a handful more and they're going to be a bit easier, and a handful more and they're going to be a bit easier. So it's going to go faster and faster. And that's at least what I tell myself. And then hopefully I won't run out of people to onboard before the product is really, really good. That's the plan, right? Anyways, so the main thing I wanted to talk about today was what I actually spent my time doing this week, because I've really had a lot of fun, and it was a really good week from like a builder point of view. Ogkit is the first like real product I've built. It's the most like serious thing I've built from scratch in sort of the world of AI. And I'm really taking advantage of it in any possible way, which is really cool. So yeah, maybe I'll just go through like each of the technical sort of challenges / learnings that I ran into with this onboarding stuff this week. The first one, when I onboarded the first customer on his first website, the fonts didn't work, and the reason they didn't work was because they weren't explicitly being loaded for the template, which is kind of technical, I guess. But if you use something like Tailwind and you just say you want font serif, for example, it's going to use the system serif font, and that's not the same font on a Mac versus Ubuntu, which is what I use for my server, right? So the font is going to look different. So that therefore you have to like be more explicit and like actually like include a font with the website, so from a CDN or something like that, unless you don't care about the system font stuff, which I think most people do. But then once we did that, his fonts were they were not loaded from a CDN, so they were kind of slow to load, and I hadn't really built that into the system, because when I was using it, I was loading it from a CDN and it was really fast, so the fonts worked, but sometimes they didn't work for him, so I had to like figure out like exactly how fonts are loaded, and like how to know when the fonts are ready, basically, which there's a way to know, but it's starting being the kind of thing where I have this JavaScript code, and like I could do a bunch of trial and error, but I really want to, like, every time I fix one of these things, I want to make sure that I really carefully like understand the problem, because a lot of this stuff is kind of new to me, and I feel much better if I understand these things at like a deeper level, so that way like I just feel better about it, but also like there's a better chance that I don't introduce a new problem by fixing an old problem, whatever. So I have this Ogkit, the JS script that we use for local development for previews, but we also use for the actual rendering in production. And in production, I just inject it, so you don't have to include it on the production side. I just inject it before I take the screenshot, so I have access to this JavaScript. And I wanted like a test site where I could test some of these things easily, and I asked, I think it was Claude, to build a test site to make it easy to test sort of the OG rendering, and it built this awesome little test site. It like one-shotted it basically, with a button to like trigger the OG rendering, and then when you click that, it shows like a really nicely designed OG image, not as an image but as the JavaScript or HTML. And then I also added a bottom to that to like switch it back to the test site, and it's just like, it took like 5 minutes to build with AI, and I've been using it all week to test different things. And it's just so cool that you can, like, I don't think I would ever like take the time to build this test site in the old days. I'd probably just have some like test it on my own website or something, and it'd be really slow. But like now I have this dedicated place to just like really easily test things. So then once I had the test site, I would just say like include the same fonts that he's loading on his website, and then throttle it, make it really slow, and then like, you know, console log all the timestamps for when things happened. And it was really clear to me what the problem was, very easy fix, and then deployed that, and it was fixed. And then the next day when we onboarded him again, I had a very similar issue with like a slow image, and just exactly the same thing, just try to like replicate a slow image on the test side, and just like implemented a fix, made sure it worked, and deployed it again. And it was just really cool to have this. Like, I am like a control freak, and I don't like when things are too random, and having like a dedicated sort of kitchen sink or whatever for all this stuff, where I can like reproduce things, and prove that I found a solution is like, it calms me down so much. And AI is just fantastic for that. Yeah, so that was really cool. Another cool thing that happened during the onboarding the first time was that I felt like I had this onboarding guide built into the product with like pretty detailed explanations of what you should do to implement Ogkit into your website. And literally the first question he asked during the onboarding was like something that was right there on the page. And I just realized, obviously people don't read this stuff, you know? Most people don't, and I probably wouldn't either. I would just start clicking on things and you wonder about things instead of actually reading what it says on the page. And it occurred to me that a lot of people are using Cloud Code or Cursor, etc. And those tools are actually perfect for setting up Ogkit as long as they know how it works. So I spent the next 24 hours building out a really detailed LLMs.txt version of the onboarding guide, and it has like, it's like user specific, so it has like the API key and everything, and a lot of context about the product. And some mosquitoes here and a chainsaw. Yeah, so I the next time, the second time I was onboarding him, I just told him to grab the LLMs.txt file. He literally just pasted the contents into Cursor. No, he didn't add his own prompt or anything like that. He just pasted it in, and it literally one-shotted the whole installation of Ogkit, which is not that much, but it's still like something. It did it perfectly, and it added like OG image templates for the different page types in his Rails app. And they were also like pretty decent looking, and they were using sort of elements from his website. And the cool thing was that my LLMs, the TXT file, didn't have any information about actually like making the templates. It was just about setting up Ogkit itself. So like when I get around to updating the guide and actually giving it better like instructions for how to design the OG images, it's going to be even better. But like basically he almost didn't have to do anything. Like he just pasted in the LLMs.txt file and everything pretty much just worked. And yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing to me. That's really feels like the way to go with these kinds of products that take a little bit of coding to sort of integrate. It's very light. Like it's just a bit of like one thing with Ogkit is you need to URL encode something, which is probably the hardest step to do. Like it's really easy, but it's still something you need to like know that you have to do. And the LLMs.txt is just like, this is a Laravel example, but look into the user's project, and if it's a Rails app, do it the Rails way instead, you know. And it just worked. So that was really, really awesome. And it makes me feel much more confident about sort of onboarding people in a more scalable way. Finally, there's a few other things with the onboarding, like, so dumb, right? Like I have this URL signing feature, which is only relevant if you have multiple, like too many domains, or like you don't know the domains in advance that are going to use your API key, so you can sign the URLs. But it's an advanced feature, and it's meant for like basically like platform use cases, right? Where your customers are running Ogkit on their own domain or something like that. And I don't even have I don't even support this model yet. Like I don't have like pricing for it or anything. So like, why am I showing it in the UI? Because my friend, when he was onboarding, was really confused about it. Like, do I need to do this? Do I not? Like, and then yeah, mosquitoes. I just realized it should just like remove it altogether, of course, like, or at least hide it, because it literally makes no sense now. But it took me a while to like realize that, because so I tried like changing the copy and say like, this is an advanced feature and stuff like that, just because I think it's just a question of like I think it's a kind of cool feature, but it makes no sense and it just shouldn't be there. Like I should just remove any obstacle to onboarding someone right now. So I'm just chipping away at it. I was joking on Twitter that this is me digging the moat, which is what it feels like. And it's all the reasons that people don't want to host their own open graph image generation tool, because they don't want to worry about fonts and images and CDNs and caching. And yeah, that was actually the last thing I built. Spent most of yesterday building cache purging into the product, which is pretty cool. So now there's a button in Ogkit where you can basically remove an image that's been generated and bust the cache in Cloudflare. So the next time someone hits that URL, they get a cache miss, and Ogkit will generate a new image and it'll be fast again. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, so I think today, which is the Friday, last day of the week, I'm gonna clean some of the stuff up around URL signing, making everything super smooth there, and then I feel pretty good about onboarding the next few people. And yeah, like just like seeing it live on an actual website where it works, and even though we ran into like 2 or 3 little issues, I was able to pretty quickly fix them. It calms me down a lot, and like it feels much more real now. It feels like, okay, yeah, this can work. And even if we run into issues when we go live on different websites, we can figure those issues out. And there's also some learnings around like how it's actually really easy to test Ogkit on your website without even going like truly live. Like you can add the template there and you don't have to add the meta tags. You could just add the template and still try to render it without, you know, saying it's your OG image yet. So you can make sure, you can be 100% sure that it works before going fully live, which is cool. And it gives me some, it calms me down a bit. And yeah, it's been really fun. It's been really fun to use AI. It's been really fun to do this LLMs.txt file and building the little tools to help. Oh, completely forgot. I also built a cart validator tool, which was fully vibe coded. I didn't even look at the code at all, to test OG images for, so anyone can just go to ogkit.dev/cart validator and test how their OG image and Twitter cards render, which is really cool. And it's good for, it's just a helpful tool, but I think it's also gonna be good for SEO and stuff like that. So really productive week. Only onboarded 1 guy. We'll onboard more people soon. Thanks for being patient. I promise I'm making the product much better, so it's worth the wait. And yeah, thanks for watching this. See you later.